So when many of us think about these new weight loss medications, like semaglutide,
Yeah.
our minds tend to jump straight to the visible changes, the rapid physical stuff.
Right.
But what actually happens when those really deep, habitual cravings just kind of vanish, or they just don't show up?
Yeah, it's a really profound
And
experience.
that's what we're really digging into today.
Exactly. So this deep dive, it's really for you if you're curious about what's actually beyond the initial weight loss, or, maybe you've wondered about those big psychological shifts
Mm-hmm.
that can happen when all that constant food noise just goes quiet.
That food noise, yeah.
And maybe just quick context for anyone less familiar. Semaglutide is a medication. It mimics a natural gut hormone.
Okay.
What it does, well, it helps regulate your appetite, makes you feel fuller, longer, and that's really how it creates that profound quiet window we want to explore.
That context is, yeah, that's super important. So our mission today is really to unpack the insights from Dan Hollis. He's a coach who, as he puts it, he lived it himself.
Hmm.
We're going to look at his philosophy through, his answers to common questions, dive into a really powerful story from someone he coached,
Yeah.
and also think about how you navigate, you know, the setbacks,
Yeah.
because they always happen on these journeys.
Absolutely. We want to get beyond just the surface level,
Mhm.
show how a tool like semaglutide, well, it's not just about losing weight. Like Dan says, it can be like a pause
The
button
pause button.
or a reset,
Okay.
creating what he specifically calls that quiet window.
Yeah.
And that's where the real work, the transformation can actually start.
Okay, so let's get into Dan Hollis's core ideas then. He's really clear that, most programs just hand you the medication and say, good luck.
Right.
But he says, I hand you a map. Semaglutide isn't the solution. It's the signal.
Mm-hmm.
What does he really mean by signal? Why is that word so key for him?
It's such a powerful metaphor, isn't it? Because it points underneath to the why. What's really fascinating is how much he emphasizes the emotional framework. He argues pretty strongly that people don't relapse because the drug suddenly stops working. They relapse because nobody helped them rebuild the emotional structure that food was holding up.
Ah, okay, so food is structure.
Yeah, for so many people, food was, well, comfort, maybe control, sometimes even part of their identity.
Right.
And when that just disappears, he says it can genuinely feel like losing a friend. And he makes a point of saying feeling anxious or kind of weird in that quiet, that's totally normal.
That's a huge distinction. It's not just the physical craving going away.
Right.
So if semaglutide is a signal, like you said, that implies there's somewhere you're heading, right?
Mm-hmm.
A destination.
Mm-hmm.
How does Dan handle the what happens next part when you stop taking it? He mentions an off-ramp.
Yes, the off-ramp idea is crucial in his approach. He
Right.
warns pretty directly that if you don't have a strategy for coming off it,
Yeah.
he says the biology takes over, appetite returns, old triggers get louder, and the rebound weight shows up before you realize you're slipping.
Cool.
Which is exactly why he says he never starts someone on the medication without having a clear exit strategy plan from the beginning.
Makes sense.
And this ties into the whole long game, right? Dan's not about cheat days or super rigid clean eating.
Mm-hmm.
He pushes for pattern mastery over perfection. His point is, if your system completely freaks out over one slice of cake,
Right.
then you haven't taught it flexibility. You've basically taught it fear.
That's interesting.
And he also tackles that common thing, where people lose weight fast initially, then hit a wall.
Yeah, the plateau.
Exactly. He explains that rapid loss can actually trigger metabolic slowdowns. It's your body adapting. So his point is, look, you're not trying to win a sprint here. You're trying to finish the race sustainably.
Right. Finishing the race, not just winning the sprint.
Yeah.
So what does this actually look like long term? Keeping it off. He talks about becoming the kind of person who doesn't need weight loss as a project anymore.
Yeah.
How do you become that person?
Well, that, he says, takes identity work, not just dieting. It's deeper. Identity work.
Okay. And, for people who feel like they failed at everything before, Dan has a really different take. He actually says, good.
Good.
Yeah, good. That means you've tested what doesn't work. Now let's build what does with tools that match your biology, not shame your behavior. It's quite refreshing.
That is refreshing. No shame.
And you can tell his personal commitment is real.
Mm.
He talks about how he lived this, how he was that guy feeling broken and ashamed, and he built his program specifically so others don't have to go through that alone.
That's powerful. Okay, so he calls semaglutide a pause button, a reset. You mentioned the quiet window again. What does he mean by that, and how does that idea change how he defines success?
He frames it as a chance to build new systems while the noise gets quiet. That's the opportunity. But crucially, he adds, only if you know what to do with that silence.
Ah, okay. It's not just about the silence itself.
Exactly. So success for him is not about the number on the scale.
Mhm.
It's about how many old coping mechanisms you've managed to replace with, well, actual tools, real skills.
He really sees weight loss as almost a side effect of gaining clarity, not the main goal itself.
The side effect of clarity. Wow.
And what's really compelling is when he talks about his own experience of the quiet, he shared that the most surprising thing for him personally was just the quiet.
He didn't realize how loud food was?
Didn't realize how loud it was in his life.
Mm.
All that constant internal chatter, the planning, the cravings, until, poof, they were gone.
Yeah.
And he found that silence both unsettling at first, but also kind of beautiful. And his advice, looking back, to himself on day one, he said it would be, slow down. This isn't punishment, it's repair. Trust the process, but more importantly, stay in relationship with yourself while you do it.
Stay in relationship with yourself. That really resonates. And that idea of the quiet, it leads us perfectly into the story of Kate. She's 46, mother of 3. Her experience really illustrates this quiet window, doesn't it?
It really does.
What was the most surprising thing for her?
Well, for Kate, it wasn't so much the weight coming off, though that was happening. The real shock was the craving that just didn't arrive. She knew her hunger rhythms, chips when she felt that afternoon slump, bread when she felt lonely, cake to celebrate.
Those weren't just foods.
No, they were responses. They were her go-to coping mechanisms built up over years.
So what was it actually like for her when those familiar signals just stopped? She described a specific moment, right? In her kitchen.
Yeah, she told Dan she felt like a ghost in her own kitchen. She walked past the pantry, which was like a huge emotional hub for her. And for the first time in 20 years, nothing reached back. Just silence.
Wow. Nothing reached back. And Dan immediately recognized that. That's it. That's the quiet window, that pivotal moment where food stops being the answer.
Yeah.
And the real deeper questions finally get a chance to speak up.
And this is the thing that people don't often talk about with weight loss, right? He calls it the grief of losing the thing that numbed you.
Even if that thing was, slowly messing up your life. Kate wasn't really missing the food itself. She missed the signal, the rhythm. That old story she told herself that said, at least I know how to feel full.
Yeah, that familiar pattern.
She actually told her husband one night she just felt weird, like the house was too quiet, like her own brain felt like a library after closing time.
Library after hours, that's evocative.
She said, it's not that I'm sad, it's just that everything feels like truth now.
And that feeling, that truth, that's exactly where Dan says his real work starts.
Okay.
It's not really about the pounds dropping or the lab numbers improving, though those are great. The real work begins when someone starts hearing the echoes.
Echoes.
Yeah, the echoes of all those years they used food to kind of muffle deeper stuff. Questions like, what am I actually hungry for when I'm not physically hungry? Who am I without this constant chase? What's even left when all that noise stops?
Those are big questions.
Huge. And he doesn't just offer a pep talk. He offers scaffolding, momentum, and just recognition. He gets it. He understands that semaglutide doesn't magically fix emotional hunger.
Right.
It just clears the runway so you can finally see what's actually trying to land there.
Clears the runway. I like that. And for Kate, what did that look like? You said no big epiphany.
No, just small, consistent shifts. Like a Wednesday where she didn't snack her way through feeling sad.
Okay.
A Thursday where maybe she reached for tea instead of opening a second bottle of something. A Sunday where she went for a walk, not because she had to burn calories, but because, as she put it, it felt like a conversation with her future self.
Wow. Conversation with her future self.
Yeah, and like Dan says, she's not done, not fixed, not magically transformed overnight, but she's present. She's there in the quiet, actually listening. That's the real work.
That is the work.
And his message to anyone else finding themselves in that unexpected silence, if a craving didn't show up today and it feels unsettling, you're not broken. You're just starting to hear yourself again.
That's incredibly validating.
Yeah.
This quiet window idea, it also changes how we think about setbacks, doesn't it?
Oh, massively. Dan coached someone else through challenges, and he told them, most people don't relapse into hunger. They relapse into confusion.
Confusion. Interesting.
Yeah, he reframes setbacks as, well, predictable, not shameful. They're just moments where the body and brain are trying to recalibrate. They're signals that you're human, not signs of failure or laziness.
Use that metaphor, right? Not a straight line, but if...
Spiral staircase.
Yeah.
Exactly. You might feel like you're going around in circles sometimes,
Yeah.
but you're actually still climbing upwards.
Yeah.
So when this person hit a plateau, their first thought was, something's wrong with me.
Mm-hmm. The default reaction.
Right. But Dan helped them see it differently. It was the body catching up, the metabolism basically asking for a little grace.
Okay, so can you give us a concrete example? Like, how would someone reframe that memory craving, as he calls it, when it pops back up? What's the actual action step?
Absolutely. So when an old craving reappears, he taught them it wasn't weakness resurfacing, it was just memory. An old neural pathway lighting up, kind of asking, hey, does this still matter?
Just a signal.
Just a signal.
Yeah.
And now they have the tools to answer differently. So instead of the old thought, oh no, I'm failing, I need those chips now,
Right.
the reframed thought becomes something like, okay, that's an old memory pathway firing. Interesting. What am I actually needing right now? Is it comfort, distraction, boredom?
Pausing to ask.
Exactly,
Yeah.
pausing. And then asking, how can I meet that real need in a new way? It's about responding consciously, not just reacting automatically.
And that loops right back to the identity work we talked about earlier. The body changes relatively fast, but our sense of self, our identity, that takes longer to catch up.
So true.
How does Dan use that knowledge to help people navigate those moments where relapse feels, close?
He explained that setbacks don't necessarily mean the medication isn't working anymore. They often mean the story you're telling yourself about who you are. That story still needs an update.
The story needs updating, yeah.
Semaglutide creates the space, the quiet window. But Dan taught them how to actively use that space, how to narrate a setback as a question, not as a final judgment.
So asking questions like,
Okay, what am I feeling right now? What do I genuinely need? And who is the person I'm trying to become through this process? He really emphasizes that failure is only really failure if you learn nothing from it. And in his program, the idea is you learn together, openly.
that sense of community must be important.
Definitely. And he even pushes back hard on that idea of semaglutide being cheating.
Oh, yeah, you hear that sometimes.
Right. He says basically, if your body's biochemistry is rigged against you, using science to unrig it isn't cheating, it's adapting.
That's a strong point.
He adds, the real cheat is pretending willpower was ever enough for everyone.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this up a bit, we've really explored how this biological reset from something like semaglutide can actually kickstart a pretty profound emotional and identity journey.
Yeah.
It really shows that weight loss, sustainable weight loss anyway, isn't just about the numbers on the scale. It's much more about swapping out those old coping mechanisms for real tools
Real skills.
and fundamentally building a new kind of relationship with yourself.
Absolutely. And just remember that core insight from Dan Hollis. Semaglutide isn't the ultimate solution, it's the signal.
Right.
It's what creates that potential, that quiet window where those deeper questions finally have room to surface.
So maybe something for you to think about as you reflect on this deep dive. If your own internal noise, whatever that might be, were to suddenly go quiet, what deeper questions might you finally start to hear? Questions about hunger, maybe connection or identity? And what would you actually choose to do with that silence?